man said, I never met Arab that talk like a Puerto Rican. I never met a Canelo fan that got cojones to call in. I mean, where you guys at? I see you guys in the comment section, but you guys won't call in. So Canelo Alvarez and DAZN are trying to negotiate a settlement right now as we speak, after Canelo lawsuit got dismissed for the moment due to a mistake made by Canelo attorney. Now, there's a lot of things that should be mentioned. That don't mean Canelo can't sue DAZN anymore. His attorneys just have to correct the mistake. I already made a video on that. I'm gonna leave it in the comment section below. In the meantime, DAZN either must have a leg to stand on, offering Canelo this deal during negotiations, which I'm about to reveal, because offering Canelo this type of deal, it seemed like they had an agreement with Golden Boy, since they made the contract with Golden Boy, not Canelo. They didn't make it with Canelo directly. They made it with Golden Boy. And Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya, he promised DAZN record-breaking numbers. As you all heard, I mean, Oscar De La Hoya, with the moment Canelo signed the contract with DAZN, he said Canelo does record-breaking numbers on TV. Oscar De La Hoya even went as far as claiming that Canelo does the biggest numbers on TV. That was like the biggest cap on TV right there by Oscar De La Hoya. So obviously, DAZN was expecting some type of revenue coming in with some type of viewership. Like, I know they had a expectation at a certain number. However, Canelo is not meeting like half of that number. He ain't even close. They losing 20 to 30 million per Canelo fight. Every Canelo fight on DAZN flopped ever since Canelo Alvarez cherry picked every single one. I mean, from Rocky Fielding, Jacob was a good fight, but that wasn't a premier fight, because the premier fights are the Gennady Golovkins, according to DAZN, like Charlos of the world, fights that's going to push DAZN to gain a lot of new subscribers. A Kovalev fight was also a cherry pick, a flop that ended up costing DAZN to lose nearly 20 to 30 million. So because Canelo is not meeting the expectations, what DAZN is offering Canelo at the moment is 20 million per fight, guaranteed. And if he fights a premier fight like a Charlo, for example, and they bring in a lot of revenue and a lot of viewership to DAZN, then Canelo is going to get a percentage. So he might end up cracking 30 million. However, it's going to be very, very hard for Canelo Alvarez to crack 35 million, especially with this new deal they got on the table for Canelo, because they realized they made a huge miscalculation. They made a huge mistake because they were under the impression that Canelo is a huge star. Everybody love him. He's going to bring in all these numbers, but they don't understand how market work in the sport of boxing. If you don't got no haters, you ain't popping. Floyd Mayweather was popping because he had a lot of haters. He fought the best and he still got criticized. So he was damn if he do, damn if he don't. That brought in a lot of revenue because Floyd Mayweather was always fighting the best and he always won. So it made the haters more mad. So the haters was willing to spend more money. On the other hand, Canelo, he not fighting nobody. He cherry picking. And also, you know, he not putting spectacular events. So it resulted DAZN to lose a lot of money since Canelo is not bringing in any type of revenue, since he been ducking Andre and Charlo to this day. And pretty much DAZN got fed up with that. So in order for DAZN to stay in the business, Dante brought up a great point. The same mistake HBO made with Gennady Golovkin is the same mistake DAZN made with Canelo. I told you all, and everybody that would listen, how are you going to give Canelo Alvarez all that money, guaranteed, fighting whoever he want to fight? I mean, that's so silly, because now Canelo doesn't even care about promoting the fight. He don't care about who he fights, because he's going to get his money guaranteed either way. So he's going to get paid either way. DAZN could be losing. He's going to get paid. So he don't got no motivation to trash talk or to pick out the right fighter that's going to bring in a lot of revenue, the fighter that everybody is telling him to fight. Matter of fact, he being a diva, doing everything he wants, fighting God. I mean, who asked for a Kovalev fight? Let's be honest. I challenge anybody to bring up a video before Canelo called out Kovalev and say, oh, yeah, I demanded the Kovalev fight. Nobody talked about the Kovalev fight. Kovalev got knocked out by somebody named Alvarez, and I'm not talking about Canelo. He nearly got stopped by Anthony Yarde. So Anthony Yarde, he knocked himself out by punching himself out trying to knock out Kovalev, who was one leg out of the door in that fight. So like I said, that was the ultimate cherry pick, and Canelo tried to make it seem like a historical event. But how is it historical when there's no danger element to it? I mean, I know Canelo biggest fans, like my homeboy Epifanio, and he didn't even watch the fight. And I'm over here, calling him like, yo, we gonna watch the fight, Epi? He's like, nah, man. I mean, I don't know. He fighting nobody, man. I don't care about that fight. I was like, what? Like, that's coming from you, man? And that's like Canelo biggest fan. So that's what I'm saying. Canelo lost a lot of popularity. His stocks started dropping because he left a lot of bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. And DAZN realized that too late. So after the pandemic, this ain't even a pandemic situation. This ain't a pandemic alert where it's like, okay, after the pandemic, Canelo, we're going to get you back at your pace. We're going to pay you exactly the money you want after the pandemic. No, DAZN have a deal on the table now as we speak. They're trying to have a settlement where Canelo gets paid $20 million per fight, plus a percentage of the subscription revenue if he fights a premier fight, which is a Charlo, a Gennady Golovkin, which I don't even think that Gennady Golovkin is a premier fight at this point, or even they said a Masvidal, even an Oscar de la Hoya. They want some type of revenue coming in. So in order for that to happen, DAZN really need new media to save them, because they need to ask Canelo the tough questions instead of, wasting our time and his time asking him irrelevant questions. I mean, go watch Canelo Alvarez interviews. Go watch Canelo Alvarez interviews and see how many ratings they do on YouTube, on network, and all of the above. They all flopping. They all flopping. The reason behind that is because you guys got to remember, Canelo Alvarez, nobody talking to him about anything. Nobody asking him any tough questions. I mean, like I said, Brian Kinney, I think his name is, when he was interviewing Floyd, the reason why his interviews always did a lot of great numbers, just like when Ali had interviews, is because Brian Kinney wouldn't just ask the right questions. He will even go far and beyond, because Floyd Mayweather on the coincidental list. However, Canelo, nobody is even asking him the questions we all want the answers to. So nobody really care about what he got to say when it comes to all of the fanboy questions that everybody ask him. And that's why DAZN really not doing ratings, not with the interviews, not with the promotion, not with the main event. When Canelo fight, they flopping every time. His highest viewership is 660 on DAZN in the United States and 1.2 million worldwide. That's horrible. That's horrible. I mean, it's cheap too. Like, let's not act like you got to pay $80 for a pay-per-view. Nah, it's $20 a month, a whole month. It's not just for his fight. And also for the whole year is $8.88. So it's not like Canelo Alvarez, he charges a lot for his pay-per-view so his fans can't afford to pay for his fight. That's not even the case. It's just people not tuning in because they're not interested. He's not doing what Israel's doing. He's not doing what the Charlo brothers are doing. He's not doing what Errol Spence's doing. I mean, Errol Spence coming off a car accident and he fighting Danny Garcia, a dangerous fight right after a pandemic and a car accident where he survived in a miracle way. Charlo's fighting dangerous opponents right after a pandemic. I mean, like I said, the list goes on and on and on. And then we got Canelo Alvarez fighting freaking Ivini coming off a loss. It's just a horrible look on his behalf. And the business model by DAZN was made to collapse because they did not have the right structure. I don't think they have a lot of boxing business people working for them. I think they had a lot of industry people, which they don't know too much about the boxing game. The boxing game could be very tricky. The boxing game is a lot that come into play. Pride come into play. Race come into play. Culture come into play. Opponents come into play. Even Andrade, a guy that they claim he ain't popular, Andrade versus Canelo is bigger than Canelo versus Gennady Golovkin at this point. Because there's an element of danger. I mean, the trash talk gonna be real. I mean, Andrade told Canelo, you don't have cojones. That's who I got it from. I quoted Andrade. You know what I mean? So that fight is also huge. So the business marketing is different in the sport of boxing than any other sport. So I think DAZN is now starting to realize that. So now they're kind of trying to get a hold of Canelo as we speak.
I'm pretty. Hold it. You're not that pretty. I'm a bad man. Wait. I took up the world. I took up the world. I took up the world.
I bear witness, there's only one God, Allah, and Muhammad is his final messenger. That's what I said, Larry, on the Bungle fight. Thanking you.
They call me the problem. but you could call me the Can Man, cause anybody can get it. Africans, Americans, Dominicans, Mexicans, anybody can get it.